Hi everyone. I want to go over problem 9.2a. So just like I did in the other exercise, um, the solution that I emailed you at the beginning of the semester, while it's not wrong, they just really did not show you much detail. So in this little video, I'd like to kind of show you all the detail. So what you're looking at here is problem 9.2a. Again, they bought the equipment in the beginning of the year. They paid $72,000 for it. They expect it to last 3 years. That is what we call its useful life, or 18,000 operating hours. So kind of like if you think about a car, some people think cars last 100,000 miles or 200,000 miles. They're looking at this two ways. They're saying that it's either going to last 3 years or 18,000 operating hours. So that's going to pertain, that's going to come in play when we do it. They say the residual value is $4,500. That's what they think they could sell the equipment for at the end of 3 years. So it's money they're going to get in at the end. And then they break down how many hours they're going to use it in year 1, year 2, and year 3. We need that for the units of activity. They want us in part 1 here, they want us to do the straight line method, the units of activity, and the double declining. So I'm going to kind of take this off and kind of show you how that works. I'll start with the straight line method. So again, here you could kind of see all the calculations. The 72,000 was the cost. This time, unlike the other problem, I took off the 4,500. That's what we call residual value, which comes out to 67,500, and I just kind of copied that down. Again, all these headings are all the same like I did in the other one. This is what we call depreciation schedule, and companies do use this. The depreciation rate is always going to be 1 divided by the amount of years it's going to last, which would come out to 0.33. Again, I just made it 2 decimal points. Depending on how far out you let this go, it's going to be 3 repeating itself. If you take 33% of that number, 67,500, that's where the 22,500 comes from. Again, in the first year, whatever you put here is going to be the same here because you just bought it and you didn't depreciate it all. Book value is always the cost minus whatever you have for accumulated depreciation. That comes out 49,500. The next year, this would still be 67,500. This is still 33%. This is still 22,500. This changes. Why? Because you have 22,500 in the year before, and now you just added another year, so you got a total of 45,000. Again, book value is going to be the 72,000 of cost minus the 45,000, which is here, gives you 27,000. And then the last year, all again the same numbers. The only thing that changes is this. Why? Because you had 45,000 in accumulated depreciation. You just throw another 22,500. That brings you up to 66,500. Cost minus the accumulated depreciation, that number gives you 4,500, which is not coincidental that it's residual value. That's what it should be, and that's what you want it to be. So it comes out to exactly 4,500. So that's the straight line method. The depreciation expense is always the same. Accumulated depreciation always goes up by whatever is over here. And the book value is always dropping by the depreciation expense. And where it stops is 4,500 because that's the residual value. If we do it based off of units of activity, again, if you look at the problem, they told us how many hours they were going to use this machine in year 1, 2, and 3. So these numbers here under units, which is really hours, were all given. So that these were given, all right, in the problem. What I did here is I figured out the depreciation based off of units, or again, hours. How I did that is I took the cost, I backed out the residual value, which really comes out to 67,500, just like we did in the other problem. That's going to be the depreciable cost. Then I divided it by the hours. So again, it's cost minus residual value over, in this case, the total amount of hours that were given, which was 18,000, breaks down to $3.75 per hour. And notice I'm going to use that every year. How I got this number here and this number and this number is I simply took 6,700 times it by 375 to get that number. 6,000 times 375 gives me 22,500, and 4,400 hours times $3.75 an hour gives me 16,500. So why these numbers are different has nothing really to do about the depreciation per hour. It's because we used a different amount of hours each year. Accumulated depreciation in the first year is always whatever you put here. The second year is going to be this number plus that, which comes out to 51,000. The third year is going to be 51,000 plus that, which gives you 67,000. Again, the book value is always going to be the cost minus whatever you have over here. So it comes out to 43,500. Then it's going to be 72,000 minus 51,000 for 21,000. And then finally, 72,000 minus 67,500 or 4,500. Again, that 4,500 is not coincidental that it's the residual value number. It's got to be that because you took it out in the beginning up here. So that and that is always going to be the same. That is what we call units of activity. Works really, really well when you have equipment or like a truck for a business and you're using miles. The more you use it, the more it wears out, and that's what affects the depreciation expense. The last one is double declining balance. Again, we did this before. All 3 years. This one says book value at beginning year, depreciation rate, depreciation expense, accumulated depreciation, and book value end of year. This one, we're starting with the cost because, again, in the beginning of the year, what you paid for it and the cost and the book value is going to be the same because you didn't depreciate it, so it's going to be 72,000. The rate is going to be the straight line rate, which is 1 divided by 3, or 0.3, but then you double it. Where this 2 is coming from is because it's double declining balance, which gives you 0.67 or 67.7%. If you take 67% times 72,000, that's where the 48,000 came from. Again, in the first year, these are always the same. The last column, you take the cost, back out whatever the accumulated depreciation is, and then you get 24,000, which is the end of the year book value. Why that number there is so important is because I need that number over here. This is the end of that year, beginning of the next. I then take that 24,000, I multiply it by the same 67%, which is double the straight line rate, and I get 16,000. 48 grand plus the 16,000 gives you 64,000. So at the end of the second year, the accumulated depreciation went up because you depreciated 16,000 more. So now it's going to be 72,000 minus 64,000 or 8,000. So that's the first couple years. What's different with double declining, because we did not take out the 4,500 in the beginning, we got to adjust it towards the end that it comes out to 4,500. So what I did here in this last column, or last row I should say, is I didn't use the 67% anymore. I just took the 8 grand, which was that number. I backed out the 4,500, which is, again, the residual value, and that's how I got this. Again, why I did that is because at the end, it always has to be 4,500 or the residual value. So I simply took that number, subtracted the 4,500 to get 3,500. 64,000 plus the 3,500 is going to make this 67,500. When I take the accumulated depreciation off of the cost, in the last year is going to be 4,500. So if you go back and look at all three of these, at the end, you'll notice that this is always 4,500. Again, not coincidental. It's because whatever the residual value is, this has got to be. So that's by design, all right? And that's why I did this over here. So at the end, if you look at all three methods, you'll find we always had depreciation expense, and we always had this to come out at the end. The only difference is this one, you're taking a lot in the beginning, and the number gets smaller because this is what we call an accelerated method. So if you look at part 2 of the question, it says, what method in year 1 is going to create the largest expense? And it's going to be this method, double declining, because the expense is going to be $48,000. It's higher than the straight line method, which was $22,500, and it's higher than the units of activity that was $28,500. Why that's the case is because I doubled the straight line rate, so it accelerates, it rates off more quickly. Part 3 of the question just says, over the 3-year period, which one is going to take more depreciation expense? Believe it or not, all of them, if you go back and look at it, took $67,500 worth of depreciation. And that's because at the end, we wanted them all to be $4,500. It's just how they got that number was different. And that's what makes these 3 methods different. All right, again, I hope this helps. Hope everybody's doing okay. And I'll talk to you shortly. Bye.